We are going to talk about a movie.
This is gonna be a disaster.
It was one of the best movies of the year.
It's gonna go so well. Probably one of the last movies I would ever want to see in a theater. What is going on, everybody? Taylor here, and I'm once again joined by a very special, very important guest.
Hi everyone, Jacob here, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode that we've been saying we've been doing for weeks.
Yeah, the holiday season / New Year hit us pretty hard with things that we had to get done and family stuff, and just there were a lot of things, and then we needed to recover.
Yeah, recovery.
But we are finally getting to our best of 2018 list, and I am so excited.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to talking about these movies for a while, and I just want to get into it really badly.
Okay, so we're going to start with our number 10, and we're going to work our way up. Right before we talk about our favorite movie of the year, we're going to give you guys our honorable mentions, which are, you know, within the 11 to 15.
Yeah, like ones that we wish we could have added, but just couldn't find the room.
Exactly. So, Jacob, what is your number 10 for the year?
So my number 10 film is a movie that we actually just rewatched the other day. It's one that I really enjoyed when it first came out, but I think it is also an extremely important film for today's era. It is Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay.
Now, while it is a little conventional, I think there is, plot beats that are conventional, standard rom-com faux. I thought that the way that it was handled was incredibly well done. It was a important film for the blockbuster landscape. I know that there are controversies around this, but I thought it was a very sweet, loving, really well-made film with an incredible performance by Michelle Yeoh, who I think is absolutely amazing and deserves an Oscar nomination if it wasn't in one of the hardest categories of the year.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I loved this film, and I thought the whole cast did an incredible job. The wedding scene alone is just beautiful, gorgeous, heartfelt, just everything. And I thought it was a really, really well-made, well-done film, and I can't wait for the sequel. Yes,
I couldn't agree more with you on that. Crazy Rich Asians is on my list, so we will get to that. But coming in at my number 10 is a slightly different film. It's a little on the other end of the spectrum, and it took me quite a while to get to watching it. Unfortunately, it was one of those movies that I wanted to see all year, and then it just, didn't happen because of a ton of things, and we wanted to watch it together. Yeah. So we couldn't watch it for a long time. And coming in at number 10 is A Quiet Place for me. Oh, wow. This movie I thought was so powerful. It was... I mean, you know how I felt. I was like grabbing you, like very tense.
I don't know if my arms were quite recovered, but yeah.
But it was so beautifully done. The acting by Emily Blunt and John Krasinski in this film are just phenomenal. The kids are amazing. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It felt like such a special film in terms of, you just get so sucked into that world that they're in, and you feel like you're there. Yeah. And you just really feel the stress. Like, if you guys haven't seen this movie, there's a scene where you know something's going to happen, and you're waiting for it, and it stresses you out so bad.
Yeah. What I loved about it, now, it didn't quite make my top 10, but what I thought John Krasinski... This was a masterful stroke of directing. Yes. He was incredible directing this film, but I also thought he was incredible acting in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone's talking about Emily Blunt. I don't think enough people are talking about him.
I don't think they are either.
He was amazing, and there is a scene towards the end of the film that I won't spoil, but just broke my heart.
It broke my... Like,
it was
I didn't know what to do. I was just like...
It was absolutely beautifully done. I thought it was a very smartly made film, and I am so glad I saw it.
Oh, yeah, me too. And I agree with you. I think that although Emily Blunt is phenomenal in this movie, John Krasinski is just, he puts such an amazing performance out there. And as someone who directed it and was so close to the story with where he was with his own kids at the time, it's just, you can just feel it in the movie. And so that definitely was enough to make my list.
And my number 9 on my list is actually a documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Ooh.
As someone who didn't grow up with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I was captivated. It was incredibly compelling. It was sweet. It was lovely. And I really just loved that here was a film that for 2 hours I was able to sit there and be like, someone like this existed in the world. And it was just, especially in 2018, it was the type of film we needed that just made you feel good and made you like, just lifted your spirits and just went, yes, someone like that can exist. And they can just be like nothing but pure good. And I thought it was just exactly what I needed at that exact moment. And it's stuck with me all year. And I absolutely adored this film.
That one is one that bounced back and forth between being on my list and being on my honorable mentions. And it is on my honorable mentions. But that movie, when we put that on, I was excited because I did grow up with Mr. Rogers. It's a very fond childhood memory for a lot of people around my age. And it was really hard hitting to see that, you know, someone did have such good intentions, even off of the camera, you know, and it wasn't like, and then he pushed so hard for kids to have that kind of programming on TV to really, you know, have that in their lives. Like, he was such a pioneer for that kind of thing during that time. And he was a pioneer for a lot of things during that time, but it was so well made. And I do feel like I personally really needed it when we watched it, because there's been a lot of things in the world going on recently this year, especially where it just, sometimes it just has you feeling down about how people can be and how people are. And this was very much like, okay, there are people who are just pure sunshine that exist in this world and have existed in this world. Yeah. So, all right, coming in at my number 9. I feel like there's a trend here between your list and my list. Coming in my number 9 is not something quite so, you know, full of sunshines and rainbows. Mine is Bad Times at the El Royale. Wow. And I know that this is a controversial choice for a lot of people. It got a lot of mixed reviews. There are people like me who really, really enjoyed the film, and then there are a lot of people who really just were disappointed with it or just didn't connect with it. But for me, it was a movie that really had me engaged the entire time. I thought the way they used the music was great. I thought that the performances were fantastic. Jeff Bridges, I'm so upset that he's not getting recognized for his performance in this film, because it was so good. Yeah. But there was just a lot about this movie that just hit me the right way, and I was just so hooked. Yeah, I was one of those people where I enjoyed a lot of moments in this film. I thought a lot of it worked really well. There was a lot that didn't quite land with me. Everyone jumps up and down about Chris Hemsworth's performance. I didn't think there was, he wasn't menacing enough for me. Like, I think don't get me wrong, he was menacing, but he wasn't like, when he walked in that room, I was genuinely terrified. And I get that. For me, I kind of saw his role a little differently, I think, because he did have that menacing, but I think he was just supposed to have that like smarmy kind of charm. Yeah. Where he's very charming, and that's why he is able to. Yeah, I just that role didn't land with me. But then Jeff Bridges, I think is well deserving of an Oscar nomination for this film. I think he was incredible, and I'm devastated not more people aren't talking about this performance. That is one that like hurts me a little bit, where I'm like, he was so good in this movie. Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that's what comes in at my number 9.
My number 8 is one of the most original films I've seen all year.
Okay.
Well, sorry, not original in terms of the storytelling. The in terms of the actual story being told. The story being told is a fairly typical missing persons film.
Okay.
However, the way they told this story, I thought was incredibly well done, and that was Searching.
Okay.
Searching is the film that is basically all set entirely on a computer screen. And we've seen that before in horror films like Unfriended and this year's Unfriended Dark Web. And there's a few little short films that did this a couple of years ago. One that I really loved. But Searching did it in such a way where you were compelled the entire time, and it didn't feel cheap.
Right.
Like, the entire time, it didn't feel like they we're going to do this because it's cheap. It felt like they were doing it because they wanted to say something about technology and here is our version of this type of film, and here is the way that we want to tell this story, and do a different spin on it. And I thought it was really well done, well handled, really great performances all around. I thought the reveal was a bit of a letdown, mostly because I thought it was telegraphed really obviously. But other than that, I loved this film, and I thought the directing alone and the choice of style really, really complemented this story. And I thought that if you did it any other way, I don't think it would have worked.
And I can agree with that. This one is another one that falls on my honorable mentions that I really wrestled with putting on my list. And I remember seeing this movie and just being completely engaged the entire time. The way that they used social media to tell the story wasn't gimmicky at all. And, just seeing it on a computer screen to me made it feel more personal almost, where I feel like I'm really invested in the story. And it was one where I was on the edge of my seat until the last frame. Until the very last frame of the movie, I was on the edge of my seat. I was just like, what is going to happen? Like, what is going on? And to me, the reveal, I kind of bought it more than you, I think, just because to me, it really hit home in terms of it's not what the other people involved, would expect. And so it kind of serves their story maybe more than ours watching it. But I thought it was by far one of the best movies of this year.
Yeah.
It absolutely was.
It makes my number 8, and I can't wait to see it again.
So coming in at number 8 is a movie that we saw together.
Yes.
First one we saw together.
Yeah.
Avengers Infinity War. And this is one that I really wrestled with putting on this list and not giving an honorable mention to, which I know is like a little crazy because this movie is one that I've been anticipating for a long time. It is a movie that I loved a lot. And I think maybe just because I saw it so early in the year and then I had all of these movies that came in that I really loved. But this movie did such a great job of being the first part of the major culmination of all of this built up in the MCU. They gave me a lot of moments that made me really, really emotional. It was a movie that I left just kind of feeling numb because there was so much to process. Yeah. And then, we spent the next 2 weeks just kind of trying to unpack how we felt about it. Yeah. And I thought that they did a great job in this movie of, making sure that we got to spend time with characters and not just kind of throwing them at you and being like, oh, they were in it for 10 seconds. Okay, there you go. And I don't know, it really felt like it paid off emotionally in big ways and that we really got that big setup that we needed going forward. And we did a review of this movie that's like an hour long or something like that, where we just talked and talked and talked. And I thought that something that really sticks out about this movie still is that they were able to really find a good balance of drama and humor, where sometimes Marvel really gets hammered for their humor for being too much and being like, not quite hitting a lot of the time. And I thought this movie was really, it lets you have those emotional moments.
Yeah. No, I very much agree with you on all of those, and I will give my rebuttal in a bit.
Rebuttal?
Or my take on this film when it turns up in my list in a little bit.
Okay.
But going on to my number 7, I really, 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 really wrestled. Spoiler alert for what my number 6 pick is. I really, really wrestled between this and my number 7 pick. My number 7 is Black Panther.
Okay.
I wrestled between which one did I prefer more, Black Panther or Infinity War.
Okay.
And Infinity War slightly edges it out, and I'll explain why when I get to that pick. But Black Panther is still one of, hands down, the best movies of the year. It is so dramatic, so just incredibly powerful to watch. Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger character is hands down one of the best villains we've ever seen, and the absolute balls on Disney is like the fact that a Disney movie was able to put Killmonger's last line of I'm going to jump in like my ancestors did because they knew what they were getting to when they got there is just wow. Yeah. Like I could not believe that a superhero film by Disney was actually willing to go this far. I thought, now, for the impact that this film had on culture, on pop culture, on society, on a huge representation of the audience, is you cannot understate that. It is incredibly important film in today's day and age. I would argue it is more important than Infinity War, just because for what it represents. But I believe that Infinity War is a better film slightly.
Okay.
However, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was hands down one of the most entertaining, one of the most important, and one of the best films of the year.
Very good. I really, 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 really loved Black Panther a lot. It was a movie that I walked out of the theater being so excited about and just couldn't believe that we actually got this movie, because it is so important. And there's a lot that they do in this movie where you look at it and you go, wow, okay, now we're playing ball. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought the casting was great. I thought that it was definitely one of the stronger villains we've ever had in a Marvel movie. And it was beautifully made in so many ways. And for this one does get on my honorable mentions list, which hurts me. Like, there are so many movies this year that I wanted to put in my top 10 that I just couldn't. And I have had such a hard time finalizing this list where they're not moving something out and putting something else back in, and just feeling like so many films deserve spots. Yeah. And there just aren't enough spots.
No, there definitely are not.
But coming in at my number 7 is a movie that I was very much anticipating when I saw the trailer, and then just was completely blown away by how much I loved it after I saw it. I went into it knowing that I really wanted to connect with the story and really wanted to enjoy it, but I left just being like, we don't deserve this movie, but we need it. And I know it's not a perfect movie by any means, but number 7 is Love, Simon for me. And there have been a lot of criticisms where it's, kind of by the numbersy, but I think it's still an important film, and I think it's an important film to be able to do by the numbers and still be enjoyed. Yes, definitely. To me, there weren't major issues with this movie where you look at it and you go, ooh, you could say it's by the numbersy, and I'll give that to you, but that didn't take away any enjoyment for me. It was a very emotional movie for me to watch, and I feel like it's really, really important that we have this movie for so many reasons. I saw so many people who said, this was a great way for them to take their parents and say, this is how I feel. Yeah.
If anyone who knows me for the last year knows how much I absolutely adore this film. And I will talk about it later, because this is hands down an amazing film.
Oh, it is. It's amazing, and I absolutely adore it, and I couldn't stop talking about it either. Every time movies came up, I was like, have you seen Love, Simon yet? What about Love, Simon? There's this movie called Love, Simon, and you should go see it right now. And if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. Yes.
So my number 6 is Avengers Infinity War. Okay. I absolutely adore this film. What it does extremely well, and why I think it is one of the most ambitious films I've ever seen. The fact that they were able to pull it off, basically. And a lot of the credit that I give this film is the fact that they were able to pull it off.
Yes. Yes.
Because you don't go into this type of film expecting them to actually pull it off.
No.
Like it's a shock to me that they were able to bring all of these characters together and make you feel like you had a moment with all of them. Like,
right.
And look, yeah, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow gets shortchanged. Captain America slightly gets shortchanged. Like, there are characters who get shortchanged, but you feel as though you still got your moments with them.
Right.
Like, that they were there, that they felt like who they were. Now, I get the criticism that people have of, you know, oh, you can't just walk into this. No, you can't. You cannot walk into this. And that is a legitimate criticism that someone can make, and I can understandably, I can agree with someone when they make that criticism. But to me, the fact that this was 10 years of build-up, the fact that they actually pulled Thanos off,
right.
That they built up to Thanos for, 6 years, and he lived up to the hype. That Josh Brolin gives easily one of the best performances I've ever seen Brolin give. And it's mocap, and there is so much that I loved about this film that I thought was incredibly well done. Thor's story, the tragedy of Thor, like not enough people were actually talking about that scene in where Rocket and Thor are talking together, because that is such an incredibly important scene, and how good Chris Hemsworth is in that film is amazing. Just how the build up, look, the battle in Wakanda isn't the most original, but I still enjoyed the hell out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And there is just so much about this film that I just enjoyed the hell out of, and I am so excited for Endgame. I think Endgame is going to be an amazing film. I'm hopeful that it's amazing, but even if it's not, we would have at least had this.
And I agree with that. This movie, to me, gave me so many of the things that I wanted to see. It gave this Thor that I'm so interested in now, and I'm like so sad that we're not going to really get to see this Thor by himself going forward, most likely, because I'd love to see this version of Thor in his own movie where he's got nothing and he just has to figure it out. I loved that a lot, getting to see that. I loved, all the new characters who haven't met each other yet. All of their scenes were really great. To me, I always said that if we ever got an MCU, like really, where it was this, where you pretty much are getting every, character on screen you can get and getting them together. I always said I wanted Iron Man and Doctor Strange in the same room, just like, going back and forth, and we got that. And I wanted to cry because I was so happy. Just things like that where you just look at it and you're like, they did this.
And that's what I love so much about this film, is that after 10 years of build up, they pulled it off.
Yeah.
And that to me is just, we didn't walk out going, damn. Like,
no. I walked out going, I feel like I got hit by a truck.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. There are probably people who did feel like they walked out and went, oh, that was it. But the fact that we didn't walk out going, that was like that, the majority of people walked out saying, oh, that was such a disappointment.
Yeah.
Like the fact that if you can look at this film and say, oh, parts didn't work. And if that's you, I understand it. I completely understand that, because there are probably parts that probably don't work for me, but I think it works extremely well, and I absolutely adore it.
Absolutely. All right. Coming in at my number 6 is a movie that, once the trailer dropped, I was like, I'm so excited for this movie because the trailer was fantastic. And it's a movie I definitely need to rewatch because I've still only seen it once, which is a tragedy in itself. But number 6 for me is BlacKkKlansman. And I love this movie so much. I think the story is told so fantastically. There's really great humor. all the actors do amazing, especially Topher Grace. Like, he's one of the unsung heroes of this entire movie. And I thought that it was so well directed. Spike Lee is a beast. Like, he just does so much with this movie that's so great. And I don't know, to me, it was one of those movies that I walked out of and felt really, it made me really emotional. It just kind of hit me where it just got to me.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, to me, those movies that have been able to do that this year have kind of ended up on this list more so than movies that people may have expected to end up on this list for me. But movies where I walk out and I was able to go, wow, like that made me think, that made me feel a lot of things that really, you know, but it made me laugh. Like, there was comic relief, or there was, you know, it just had that spark that I love in a movie.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I absolutely loved it. And we will talk about it a bit more.
Okay. All right.
So just going up to my number 5.
Here we're getting into top 5 territory.
Top 5 territory. All right. My number 5 is my number 1 animated film of the year. This is hands down my favorite superhero film of the year. I absolutely adore this. And of course, it is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Look, we have rambled and discussed this film to death.
Yes, we have.
And I'm going to continue to talk about this
because I
absolutely love this film. Miles Morales' story is incredibly well done. The heart of the story of everyone can be a superhero, everyone can be Spider-Man is just incredibly and amazingly done. The animation is gorgeous. Like, I cannot scream enough about how absolutely gorgeous the animation is. Just so much about this movie hit me and impacted me on ways that I didn't expect. I knew that I would like this movie. The animation alone, I knew I would like it. I didn't think I'd love it this much. I didn't think I'd walk out of it going, that's the best superhero film of the year. That's the best animated film of the year. Like, I couldn't understand, like, I couldn't believe just how much of an impact this movie had on me. And we both walked out. We sat there in the theater afterwards. We sat there. We couldn't move. Like, we even after the credits, after everything, we just sat there.
I was just wiping tears away.
Yeah, and it was wow. That is a film. That actually is a film that actually came out. That they actually made money on, and
it's still going. People are spreading the word. And
I loved it, and I thought it was an incredible film, and I need to see it again.
I do too, and we may talk more about that film a little later, possibly. So coming in at my number 5 is one that I saw it in theaters by myself, which was probably good because it made me cry. I was a mess. And it was a movie that really just made me feel like it was so much fun, but it also had a lot of heart, and you could tell that so much went into making this movie. And it is Crazy Rich Asians, which we just rewatched and made me cry again. And to me, this movie, to a lot of people, it might seem like number 5 spot is a little high, which I get. I get that it's not a perfect movie. I understand that. But to me, once again, it was a movie that just made me feel so much. I just felt so invested in this story. And I just felt like, you know, Michelle Yeoh and the rest of the cast, like her specifically, she was insane. She was so good and so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But, you know, Constance Wu was great. And just, there's just, to me, it just felt like it was one of those rom-coms that you can go enjoy, laugh. There's moments that'll really get you emotionally. And it's not anything revolutionary in terms of the story.
Yeah.
Like how, you know, it's told. It's very much, oh, boy and girl meet family, chaos, like that kind of stuff, whatever. But the kind of cast that it had and the kind of culture that it showed people, like, that's what really hit me and was really important. Because I know there was a lot of stuff in that movie that I can appreciate, but it wasn't for me. Like, there are people who would watch that movie and see, what's it called? The game at the end.
Yeah, the game at the end. Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember what it's called either.
But that, for example, where you see that, and there are people who are going to see that and completely...
What I love so much about that scene is that is a masterclass in direction, because most of the audience of that film is not going to know what that game is. You can tell what is happening though in every single scene. You know exactly what's happening, and you know who has the power, and you know everything about that scene. And that is a masterclass in directing, because even though you know your audience, most of your audience isn't going to know exactly what's going on. They don't spell it out. They don't explain it.
They don't treat you like you're, dumb.
They don't go, and because they don't say to her, oh, you've never played this game, let me explain it for the next 5 minutes. They don't. They treat you like, hey, this is the game, and they just do it. And I thought that was an absolute masterclass in directing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I had that experience when I watched it the first time. I was like, I don't know the rules. I don't even remember what this is called. Like, I have no idea. But you see the way that they're playing the game. You know exactly what's playing out. And I think it's a great way to have that scene play out, where it's not just her meeting up with the mom and, just having their back and forth. It's really setting. It's just such an interesting way to do that. There was so much in this movie that did that, where it was just little interesting ways to do things that I thought was fantastic. So.
Yeah. Look, I already told you it's one of my favorite films of the year. Let's get on to my favorite action film of the year. Number 4 is Mission Impossible Fallout. Look, I am a sucker for Rogue Nation.
Same, though.
Rogue Nation is still my favorite Mission Impossible film.
I love Rogue Nation.
Damn, this one came close.
Well, let me just say this is I think the one we have in common, because it's my number 4.
Yeah.
So we can just talk about this.
Yeah, all right. Let's just talk about Mission Impossible.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Like, I was so hyped going into this movie, because I love Mission Impossible. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol, honestly.
Yeah,
like, I can't even tell you. And once the trailers dropped for this one, I was like, I can't get too excited. Like, these trailers look so good, but I don't want to get too excited.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, look, the mustache alone was worth it.
Yes.
It was worth it.
It was worth Mustache Gate 100%.
It was worth Justice League being that bloody terrible and that
It was
distracting.
already terrible anyway.
I know, but it was worth it being that distracting.
You know what? And it was good press for Mission Impossible.
Oh, hell it was. Oh, yeah, it was. But no, and I think, look, okay, more than that, it was... Henry Cavill was an amazing character in this film. I thought he did really well. I think the third act drags a little bit to me. I think it drags a little bit, and I also don't like the fact that the movie... I don't like it when marketing straight up announces who a villain is, and it's a twist villain. Like, it drives me mad, and this movie did that. So to me, like,
I thought they still played the story out well.
I thought they did, and 10 years from now, that's not going to matter, because no one will remember the marketing. But and it works in the film that way. But I think most of it, I liked where most of the angles went. I did like that. I do like the storyline. I thought Tom Cruise is a nutcase in this film,
as usual.
as per usual. I just loved everything about it. I thought the action was incredible. I thought the final fight on top of the cliff tops in the helicopter was insane, and I was absolutely on the edge of my seat every single second.
Somehow they like keep upping it every movie. They're like, oh, last time he climbed on the outside of a building with one suction cup and then did somersaults over whatever, and then, okay, this time we're gonna just there you go. No,
it was insane, and I loved every second of it. The bathroom fight
was honestly, I think that was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
honestly,
I mean, I loved that fight so much, but I think the movie doesn't peak there. Like, it doesn't like peak and then not get back up there, because it does kind of get back up there into the films, but that is still highlight of the movie. That is one of the best scenes in the film, and
100%.
Easily one of the best films.
Another movie we need to rewatch.
Yeah, I do need to rewatch it. I mean, I did watch it on the plane, so
yeah.
All right, my number 3 is a film that we have already talked about, Black Klansman. Funny enough, I can't believe that this is higher on my list when we talked about this, because when we were talking about it afterwards, you were a lot more into it than I was. You sounded like you were a lot more into it than I was. But the more I thought about it, this film just hit me on ways that I wasn't expecting, and when I've walked out of it, I didn't like the ending.
I know you didn't. Yeah.
I didn't like the ending because I felt it was a little too. I thought it was. The whole movie had been bashing you over the head with this, hey, how could the American people do this? How could the American people vote for this? Knowing full well, hey, the American people voted for this.
Right.
And then I thought the ending was a little bit too bashing. And to me, that is the one criticism that I have for the film, because everything else is a damn near perfect film. And I loved every second of it. And I was sitting there enthralled. I think John David Washington is getting no love for how good he is in this film. I know, and it makes me
so sad because he was so good.
He is so good in this film. He is not getting anywhere near the love he deserves. Don't get me wrong. Adam Driver is amazing in it. But John David Washington is incredible. Topher Grace is amazing. I thought he was hilarious.
Yeah.
Everything about this film just worked on in different levels. Spike Lee deserves Best Director this year. I think he should get Best Director. I know he won't, but he should. And if I had my pick right now, I'd probably give this film, out of the current runners, this would probably be my pick for Best Picture.
I mean, yeah, and to me, the thing is, I don't think me having this lower on my list, honestly, means anything. And I don't want to say that to diminish the order of my list, but like this list order has changed so many times over the past month, where I just can't. I can't look at this and say absolutely that this is the perfect order. But I had to fall somewhere.
Yep.
So this is where it falls. And Black Klansman is without a doubt, one of the best movies of this year that has stuck with me and that I definitely want to revisit. And I know you said that last sequence doesn't really work for you, and I get that, but to me, like, it was kind of the perfect way to do it, just because of where my country is right now with a lot of that stuff. And I think making bold statements like that in terms of where we are still, to me was important. And I get where you're coming from.
I guess maybe it's just from me in my head. I'm sitting there going, no duh. And I guess maybe that's just the problem I've got, where I am slightly educated on that sort of stuff, and he's making this film for those people who are not slightly educated on this sort of thing.
Yeah. But coming in at my number 3 is a movie that I knew I wasn't going to be ready to see no matter when I saw it, even though I wanted to see it so bad. And I waited so that, like, we had to find a night that we could go see it.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up finding the perfect night to go see it.
We did.
Because it was a hard-hitting movie. And he went into this movie having pretty much no idea what he was getting into. So number 3 for me is The Hate U Give. And we both have agreed that this is hands down one of the best, if not the best, movies of the year. Like, we both were just so blown away by this movie. And to me, it was once again one of those movies where I just felt so much. This movie destroyed me emotionally. It was so powerful in the message that it was bringing. It was so carefully and beautifully crafted in the story that it told, and how it told it to you, and how it got you to understand what was going on and what it wanted you to feel.
Yep.
It had incredible performances across the board.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just one of those movies where, to me, everything worked. Like, everything worked. And on top of that, like I said, you just watched it, and the way the story was handled was just so perfect that I just wasn't ready.
No, and trust me, I will be definitely talking about this film.
Yeah.
However, it is so spoilers for what it is because it's not my next pick. But my next pick, this is easily one of the best films of the year, and I love it so much. But it is not my number 2 pick. My number 2 pick is one that you have already talked about because you like spoiling my list. Apparently,
I do.
Is Love, Simon. This was my number 1 film of the year for the longest time.
Yeah.
It was my number 1. All year, whenever someone would say, "What's your favorite movie of the year?" Love, Simon, Love, Simon, Love, Simon. It look, yeah, the story isn't the most original, but that's the point, and that's what I think makes it so powerful. Is that a young gay kid was able to get their version of a romantic comedy, and I thought that was powerful. The fact that you sat there and you were able to, experience it and feel for him and absolutely know in those moments exactly what he was feeling, I thought was incredibly well done. It felt like a high school drama.
Yeah.
And it did. It didn't try to go too hard hitting with what it meant. And I thought that was very, very key and very important. And a lot of I've seen people criticize that. Saying it didn't go too hard. But well, why don't you criticize films like 10 Things I Hate About You for not going too hard? Because that's not the type of film that it is.
Right.
It's romantic, high school romantic comedy.
Right.
And the power of that. I think Nick Robinson was absolutely amazing in this film. The whole cast, I think, were incredible. They told this story really well. It was beautiful. It was genuine. It was sweet. And I cannot stop talking about this film all year.
I know.
I love it. I just wanted to scream to the world just how much I love this film. And now I finally can. But it is my number 2 pick because there was one film that I did enjoy more.
I wonder what that's going to be.
I wonder what that is too.
So coming in at my number 2 is a film that's not anywhere near your list.
Nope.
And I understand that. It's one of those movies that's either going to be on your list or it's probably going to be on your worst list. Just because it's that kind of movie.
Funny enough, it's not on either.
Oh, well, that's encouraging. So this movie is a movie I saw twice in theaters at the beginning of the year, and it has stuck with me pretty much every day since then. And it makes me sad that it fell victim to a lot of things in terms of release and marketing and that kind of stuff. But my number 2 is Annihilation. And for me, it's again just a movie that really hit me the way that it needed to. And I know for a lot of people it didn't. There were people that I talked to about this movie where they just didn't get it or, it just wasn't for them. And this kind of movie is not going to be for everybody. No. It's just not. No. It's a very intense movie in a lot of ways. To me, I was completely blown away by a lot of the visuals, a lot of the visual effects and the world building that we saw in this movie. And I thought the cast did an incredible job. It was so great to see such a strong female cast get to lead a movie like this, where it's like sci-fi, crazy nature, like horror, just this very interesting genre kind of film with all these female, diverse like scientists and doctors and that military and that kind of stuff was, first of all, was just enough to make me go, I'm so interested in what's going to happen here. And it was just a movie where I was so on the edge of my seat the entire time. Like, to me, they were just laying out. They're like, here's a breadcrumb. Well, wait. Here's a breadcrumb. All right, we're going to wait. And here's another. And I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? And it to me, it was so suspenseful. It has one of the most horrifying creatures.
Yeah.
One of the most horrifying creature scenes I think I've ever seen. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Where it's just, you watch it and you're just horrified because it's terrifying. And to me, it just had such strong aspects all across the board in terms of characters and having interesting characters, and then having the effects and having all these interesting monsters and having all this really cool science kind of stuff. Like, it was just my kind of movie. And I know a lot of people had issues with the ending especially, and that's where a lot of the problems with studio and marketing and that kind of stuff happened as well. But to me, I really enjoyed it. To me, it's just another element of this movie that really made me think and really kept me wanting to keep thinking about this movie and figuring out how I felt. And yeah, so this movie is probably my Love, Simon in terms of like annoyingly being like, so I saw Annihilation. You want to talk about Annihilation? And people are like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm really sad that it's not going to get nominated for effects.
No, it definitely will not.
And I'm so sad.
All right. So I'm just going to run through 3 of my honorable mentions just real quick.
Okay.
All right. So one of my honorable mentions is Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Yes. That is also one of mine.
2 of the best performances of the year. They're both going to get nominated. I hope at least one of them wins, but I doubt it's going to happen.
I know.
Another honorable mention of mine is Creed 2. I really, really, really loved this film. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought they really did it. They managed to make it exciting and do it extremely well. My last honorable mention is going to be Mary Poppins Returns.
Okay.
I didn't know what to expect from this film, and I didn't think that I would love it as much as I did. Emily Blunt is incredible. She is insanely incredible, and I could not believe how much I loved her performance in this film. But I went with it. I loved every second of it, and I don't want another one, but if another one happened, I wouldn't say no.
I understand what you mean by that. Where I don't need another one,
yeah.
But I'd be like, oh, you're going to give me Emily Blunt being amazing again? I think I'll take it. So my honorable mentions, we talked about a couple of them already because they were on your list. Searching, Will You Be My Neighbor, Black Panther, Can You Ever Forgive Me is on there. So there's a couple I want to talk about, and I'll just list the other ones just so you guys know what they are. But I finally saw First Man. Finally saw First Man. It took me 1.5 million years to see First Man, which really sucks because I was looking forward to this movie so much. I love Damien Chazelle, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I never saw it. So I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot, which I think one of the reasons that I didn't end up seeing this movie and really prioritizing it, even though I wanted to see it, was because there was too many people talking about it and too many I was starting to form too many expectations in terms of the negative and the positive.
Yep.
I didn't want to go in with just my mind focused on the flag controversy and the this and the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was just too much around it. And to me, sometimes I have a hard time not overdoing it either way. If I can go into a movie that I'm really looking forward to and just try and overcompensate if I have all these expectations. So I'm kind of glad that I actually waited a little bit, just because I probably would have been oh, well, I'm just going to like it more out of spite now because you guys are idiots. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the cinematography and, the DP and the cinematographer just did a great job to me. I thought it was beautifully shot. I really liked how sound and music was used. I thought it had a really big impact on the film. Claire Foy, I'm so sad she's probably not going to get a nomination because she was phenomenal in this movie. She
really is
so great. And so was Ryan Gosling.
Yep.
He was very understated, but he was great. But Claire Foy,
Claire Foy is amazing. But I really love Ryan Gosling's performance in this because
I do too.
It is such an understated performance, and I don't think anyone appreciates understated performances as much as the flamboyant, over the top one.
Right.
And when you are able to be that understated, but I can still understand everything going on in your head.
Oh yeah.
That is a brilliant performance, and no one is talking about it.
No, and I am really sad that this movie got hit with such a controversy because I feel like it could have done a lot more. Yeah. And it is a beautiful movie. Like, is it a perfect movie? No. Is it everyone's cup of tea kind of movie? No. Is it really the kind of movie that you thought you were going to get based on the marketing? Not really.
No.
But it is a great movie.
Yeah.
And so I definitely had to put it on my honorable mentions. So I'm glad I saw it in time to do that because I was really, like, the day it was available to rent it, I was like, yes. So, okay, another one I want to talk about that we just kind of watched just because we were, like, sitting around and we're like, oh, let's watch this movie. Like, I kind of did actually want to see it. We saw A Simple Favor.
Yeah.
And I loved A Simple Favor. I loved it so much. Like, it's so quirky and, like, it was just so interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that was just, you weren't expecting it.
No.
Like, you weren't expecting it to be that.
No.
And then it doesn't do anything overly different or unique, but then at the same time, it is very unique and different in its style.
It is.
So
the style,
it's weird.
I know. And I, like, when we finished watching it, I was like, I really like that. Like, I don't really quite know.
I can't put my finger on why exactly, but I loved that. I
loved it. It was so good. I loved Anna Kendrick in it. I loved Blake Lively in it. Our good pal Henry is back in it. He's killing it this year with his first ever acting debut in a movie of Crazy Rich Asians and then showing up in this movie.
Yeah.
But I loved A Simple Favor. And if you guys just kind of like those quirky, kind of unique movies, especially with a great cast, like, I would definitely recommend checking this one out just because it's different. Yeah. And it's just one of those where it's like, where did this come from? Like,
I wasn't expecting this at all.
And the music choices are pretty great too.
Oh yeah, they are. They definitely are.
So there's that one, and then I'm just gonna kind of mention these other ones. On the Basis of Sex is on there, which I really enjoyed. Like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a legend. She is fantastic, and I was really, really happy to get to see this movie. Bohemian Rhapsody is on here, which I adore and I will stand up for no matter what. Like, I don't even care. I love this movie. Beautiful Boy is on here, and The Favorite is also on here. So those are my honorable mentions for the year.
Well, I'm going to now talk about the film that has not left me ever since I walked out of the theater. That I found completely compelling. There is not a film this year that I have sat there in a theater and just been captivated the entire time. I left the theater sad, angry, extremely happy. Like, I had all sorts of emotions because I loved this film. And it is, of course, The Hate U Give. I won't shut up about The Hate U Give.
No.
This is easily one of the best films of the year. This is one of the best films of the decade. If you have not seen The Hate U Give, go out and see it. It is one of the most important films. It is one of the best films I have seen in a very long time. And I absolutely adored it. And I loved every single second of it. It is hard hitting. It is a gut punch. But it is such an important gut punch. And I feel this is one of the most important films of the year that no one is talking about.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Not enough people are talking about just how good this film is. Not enough people are talking about how good Russell Hornsby in this film is.
I know.
And if people were actually talking about this film rather than something like Green Book or some of the other films that people are talking about this year, he would be getting an Oscar nomination, possibly even winning it this year, because he is so good. When he is like that opening scene with his daughter, when he's talking to his daughter, and you realize exactly what talk he's having, is such a gut punch, and it
sets the tone for the movie.
This is the movie we're in. I loved the style of direction that they took. I loved that there is a choice that the George Tillman Jr. makes, in that he has, when she's in the black neighborhood, there's a certain color scheme. When she's in the white neighborhood, there's a certain color scheme. And I was straight up fully expecting that halfway through the film, when they get to the cliched part where, the colors are merging and her stories come, they never do that. No. And I love it. I love that they didn't ever go the cliched route. They were really honest in that, no, this shit isn't sold in 2 hours. Yeah. This is real. This is hard hitting, and this is life. And I loved
every second in this film, and I cannot wait to see it again because it opens here next week,
and we're totally going to see it again. And just to once again, because like you can't talk enough about this movie. I'm pretty sure it's the last scene or almost the last scene of the movie that is probably the biggest gut punch in this entire movie. Yeah,
that is one of the. I've never had, like, I was sitting in my theater that just like biting my nails in fear at that scene. Like I couldn't believe it. And I was scared. I was like on the edge of my seat. Like we watched horror films this year that didn't scare me as much as that scene. Like I was genuinely terrified, and I was like, oh no, that's how this movie's going to go. And I really thought they were going to go there, and I'm glad they didn't. Like, I'm really glad they did
such a good job throughout the movie setting it up to where you believe it could have gone the horrifying way, which I thought was fantastic. My number one movie of the year is a movie that really affected me in ways that I wasn't expecting for a lot of reasons. And it's a movie that I feel like really is a passion project. It seems like for a lot of people, in terms of there's so much that went into doing things new ways in this movie, where people put so much work into finding the best way to do things and really having it be a movie that is fun and enjoyable, but is so important in the messages that it tells, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie does so much that just blew me away. Like,
and it never feels like a passion. Like it never felt when they first announced it. Everyone was like, "Oh God, Sony are doing an animated Spider." Oh God, and then they said Chris Miller and Phil Lord.
Yeah,
and people went, "Okay." Maybe
you've got my attention.
Yeah, like it never, when they first announced it, it felt like a studio mandated film, and it doesn't feel like that at all in the film.
It doesn't feel like it's a studio made film.
No,
like it doesn't. And it just, the animation, which no one can shut up about, and they shouldn't.
No,
like the animation is incredible. The music is incredible that they use and created for the film.
Sunflower's not getting nominated.
I know. And the cast was incredible, and the way that the story is told with so many different characters, and just to me it's such an important way to tell a superhero story, where you're getting all of these characters and you're getting all these different backgrounds who are essentially, the same superhero. They're all spider people, but they're showing you that they're all different, and they have different strengths, and they come from completely different universes and different backgrounds. And I think that it was so great that they were able to do that in such a beautiful way, where it's, hey, anyone can be this hero. You just have to do it. You have to be willing to be that person. And I can't say enough good things about this movie. We spent a long time talking about it in our review of just how incredible it was and how unprepared we were for how insane this movie is. But it's definitely, if it's not my true number one, it's true top 5. For sure.
Nah, definitely. And like I said, it's one of my favorite films of the year, and I absolutely adored it.
Yeah. So we made it.
We did.
Through our top movies of the year.
We did.
We got there. So what do you guys think? Did we mention your top movies of the year? If you want to list them in the comments, we'd love to read them and find out what you guys thought of cinema this year. And if there's any that we really missed that you're surprised about or anything like that. We're also going to put our links in the description if you want to see our lists, like our full lists of what all our movies for the year are. And we are going to put out a video of our worst movies of the year.
Expect that coming soon.
So we'll get that out soon, and that's going to be another fun one.
Yeah.
But as always, all of our links for social media and everything are going to be down in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and being patient while it's taken us a while to get out new content. And we will see you all next time.